Welcome to the Lowdown, brought to you by Unibet. I'm Dev Sahni, and joining me today is Father Christmas himself. It is, of course, Boxing Santa. Frank Warren, how are you?
I'm right, Grandfather Christmas.
You gave us all a wonderful festive gift in Tyson Fury, Dereck Chisora, Tottenham Stadium, 60,000.
That was nice for Tyson, wasn't it? It was. I mean, could you imagine if the fight had been this week? We would have been struggling with all this. No. Well, look at it today. I'm thinking how lucky we were. But yeah, it was a good night. It was very, it was a good, great atmosphere there, and the people there really enjoyed it. And Tyson came through. All our guys came through, so I was delighted.
What did that say about Tyson Fury's star power right now? That it's been well documented. It was 94,000, then it's 60,000. He's done thousands of tickets. He's still doing them on his tour that he's doing as well. What are we saying about Tyson's star power right now?
Well, his last two fights, he's done 154,000 tickets. He's had 3 books in the last couple of years have gone to #1. He's got a record out. He's got a Netflix series that's being broadcast soon. I think I'm not sure how many episodes it is, 6 or 8 episodes. And obviously he's a boxer as well, and he keeps winning. So he is, I should think he's probably the biggest star in British sport, to be quite honest.
Yeah, he's doing very well. It seems everything that he's doing, like when England went out, he put out a message like saying, chin up sort of thing, you can bounce back like I bounce back. And that became news in itself. People are looking to him for support at this time for England as well.
Well, he's been a bit of an inspiration, isn't he? I mean, everybody forgets about all the mental anguish and the problems that he went through over the years, quite a few years back, and the state he was in. And he obviously got himself out of that, and he has inspired people. There's no doubt about that. He's been an inspiration to some people who've connected with him and said, look, if the world heavyweight champion, the toughest guy on the planet, can be affected by mental issues, then, so can I. And, I must admit it, own it, and then try and deal with it.
Well, back to the boxing. What happens next for Tyson Fury? It looked like all roads point to Oleksandr Usyk in the first quarter of next year. Is that still the plan? What can you tell us?
That's what all the sides want to do. So we've agreed, we've all agreed, all the parties have agreed we want the fight. We're just working out really, I suppose, the logistics and where it takes place. And that's really it. And we're going to have to make some decisions very quickly about that.
What sort of hurdles are you anticipating on this? Because obviously, when there was talk of Tyson Fury against Anthony Joshua, it's talks that were prolonged. Boxing fans thought they were going to get it, but then they never got it. How can you assure us that we're going to get this fight?
Well, nothing's assured till it's signed, Dev. Until it's signed, don't mean nothing. All I can say is that everybody in this fight, none of them have agendas. They're all on the same page. And it works, and both the boxers, more important than anybody else, they both want the fight. Usyk was at ringside to prove that.
And what did you make of the Usyk getting up in the face and then Joe Joyce getting involved as well? I mean, that it felt like a good sell for Tyson Fury's 2023.
Well, it is. Tyson will decide what he wants to do, but last on the night he was saying he would fight both of them. And, if he says he's going to do it, that's normally what he does. So there's 2 great fights there, 2 fabulous fights for next year. I mean, great fights, really great, heavyweight, exciting fights involving winners.
Involving winners, indeed. And would we say that the Middle East is the front runner? That seems to be the talk out there in terms of Fury versus Usyk.
Not at the moment. No, nothing. There's no front runner at the moment. It's where the money is.
Okay, all right. Well, look, fantastic. And is there any sort of nugget of information that you can give us?
That everybody wants to do the fight. We're all up for doing it. I can't tell you. I mean, I spoke with Bob Arum a couple of days ago. He's speaking with Egish. George, my son George, he's been speaking to Alex, and everybody wants it. I mean, we all want to make it happen. We're all determined to make it happen. And as I said, most importantly, the boxers are determined to make it happen.
Have you spoken to Tyson since Tottenham Hotspur, and what's the conversation like at the moment?
Yeah, I spoke to him quite a few times since the fight, and he's extremely happy. He's spending a lot of time now with his family. chilling with his family. He had I think he had a little day where he had to do this sort of book signings and promotion for his book. But he's all right. He's very, very happy, in a good place at the moment, and looking forward to next year.
And is your are the orders that you've been given, go and get me that Usyk fight? Is that kind of where he's left it with you?
As we've already said, that's what we're working on.
Any word for Dereck Chisora? Obviously, look, he stepped up, right? He took the fight.
He did. He stepped up. He got well paid, and he did give account of himself. I mean, the fight could have been stopped earlier. It went on too long. But having said that, you know, I never. I mean, I said I'm not telling, altering facts or anything. I never felt Dereck could beat him. I'm not being disrespectful to Dereck. I never felt he had to beat the Tyson. The only way he could beat him, in my opinion, was to knock him out, and he just didn't get near to that at all. He showed courage, heart, vintage Dereck Chisora. But Tyson, I think, is a head and shoulders above all the heavyweights. Dereck now, I hope, will, and I don't mean this disparagingly or even being disrespectful to him. He should retire now. I hope he's got money. I hope he's made a lot of money in the sport, and I hope he comes out of it, with his marbles all intact. He's been a great servant for boxing. He's had some great fights. Been involved with nearly everybody who's been around. Now's the time, I think, to put his feet up and enjoy his two little girls, and his wife and his family life, and that's what he should be doing. After the fight, I got in the ring. Struggles to get in the ring. I got in the ring, and he came up to me, Dereck, straight up to me. And he went to me, "How's your back?" He just had this unbelievable, fight that he was, on the other end of, and he said that, and I was that sort of tells you a lot about the guy.
Sounds like you were taken aback.
I certainly was taken aback. I'll give up the day job.
Well, look, you said there you think he should retire. You're not the only one who's saying that, but do you think he will?
I don't know. It's going to be his decision. He's got nothing. I'm sure he doesn't need to do anything quickly. He's got Christmas, and just take it easy. I hope he doesn't need to box. I know he's had some good paydays over the years, and I hope he's invested his money wisely.
Well, back to Tyson Fury. Obviously, we had that press conference at the end where he talked about how he wants to fight Joe Joyce. He wants to fight Oleksandr Usyk next as well. One of the questions at that press conference was, where does Anthony Joshua fit into this picture? From your opinion, does he fit into the picture for next year? What do you think?
Not at the moment.
And why is that for boxing fans who obviously still clamour to see that?
I mean, look, I find it strange. Everyone keeps talking about, again, why wasn't he in the ring? I done a thing on TalkSport the other day, and Jim White said, "But why wasn't he in the ring?" He hasn't even got a trainer. He has not. How's he going to get in the ring? He hasn't even got a trainer. As we talked, they were talking about him fighting on the 17th of December. He hasn't even appointed a new trainer yet. Who knows? And he's not in that. We've mapped out where we are, and unless Tyson changes his mind, that's where we're going.
What do you make of this training situation? There is rumours that he's training in America with a new trainer who's currently unnamed, but it won't be Robert Garcia, is what we're hearing. What do you make of that?
I don't think about it. I've got no interest in it. It doesn't bother me. As long as he's happy, then he's happy. That's all that matters.
Look, the last one on the whole Fury-Joshua thing is just Eddie Hearn's out there making comments again that Anthony Joshua has a better resume than Tyson Fury. So I'm sure there's no more of a staunch defence than from yourself. What would you say to those comments?
Look, you got to give him his due. I mean, he's a green boxing promoter. He's always recycling. He's always flogging. He's slogging the goods. He never gives up on them. Anybody who knows anything about boxing knows what the position is out of those two fighters, and anybody knows what would happen if it ever happened that they met, and that doesn't look like going to be anytime soon. But and at the end of the day, he has something to say about everything. So who really cares?
Well, let's talk about another heavyweight that was in action at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Daniel Dubois had to overcome a bit of adversity, but got Kevin Lerena out of there. How do you reflect on that fight?
Well, it was first of all, it was unusual, obviously, that we did a show in that time of year in the outdoors. That time of the year when it was cold, I think it was about 6 degrees. And I don't know whether he was warmed up or not, or whether he got warmed up properly. Who knows? But I mean, anybody who knows anything about boxing will tell you the first round's normally the danger round for fighters who get caught on the top of the head. The body's not warmed into it, and they can get disorientated, discombobulated, whatever you want to call it. And that's exactly what happened with him. Lorena's not a bad puncher. He's got, he can whack, and he caught him, and he caught him cold, and he went. There's no doubt about that bit, I think. But it's funny. I look back to Tyson when Tyson said in that first fight he had with Wilder, when I thought he was out and he was lying there, and I said to him after the fight, we're in the dressing room, I said, why did you suddenly just come back to life? He said, I wasn't out. He said, I just couldn't feel my legs. And he said, and had I got up, I'd have fallen about all over the place. But he did that because he got great experience. He's got great knowledge. Whereas Daniel just got up and he was all over the place. And his leg, he obviously had a problem with his leg. And he went down twice without getting hit. And that was solely because of his leg. And I noticed in the second round as well that he was struggling with it. And then, he sort of gradually got himself back into it. And obviously once he finds his range and he lets those shots go, and he was obviously warmed up by then, that was it. It was lights out.
Kevin Lerena has been fairly active on social media. He's calling for a rematch. He says he wants to see Daniel Dubois again. I mean, it was good fun to have around in fight week. What do you think about that?
Well, he was a nice fella. He was a very nice fella. Who knows? Maybe down the road that could happen. Maybe down the road. He's fighting at heavyweight now. He's had his full fight in a row as a heavyweight, so he's done fairly well. And
what's next for Daniel Dubois then? He successfully retained that crown. I understand in the sort of rotation with the titles, he's next.
We're next in the rotation that was agreed by all the governing bodies. He's next. But obviously, a unification, which we're all working on, will take precedent.
So should that unification go ahead, we're looking at who
will take priority. Take priority.
So if that all happens as it should, Fury versus Usyk next year, where would that leave Daniel Dubois? Who can we look at for him next? What do we think?
Keep fighting. Just to keep fighting, defending his title and keep fighting. Him, Joe Joyce, they're in a real good positions. The both of them, they're going to be in big fights next year.
His trainer Shane McGuigan, Dubois' trainer, said that the performance may actually entice more people to take a fight with Daniel Dubois, and maybe that list will get a little bit longer who want to actually fight him. What do you reckon?
We will see. One thing's for sure, he'll be fine.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What about the undercard? There was Royston, Barney, Smith, Karol, Itauma. Good performances from those boys.
Yeah, both the boys done well. Royston, turned pro. What was he? He was 18 when he turned pro, and it's his first year. And his last couple of fights, you can see his body's changed a bit, and he's becoming more of a man now. Still got a way to go, but he's getting more strength, and he's finding his power in his shots, as we've seen in his last two fights.
Yeah, he doesn't need long now. It's like his last couple of fights have done under a minute. It's unbelievable.
Well, it's nice when you can get him over quickly. But having said that, he needs to get experience, gain experience, and do that by fighting as regularly as possible. And that's what we'll do for him. But he's an extremely, precocious and good young talent. And we're delighted that he's our precocious young talent.
As is Karol Itauma, who just seems to be looking more cool and composed every time we see him.
Well, I thought he boxed extremely well. Karol, I'll tell you what he was using, his jab. He really did work, broke his man down with a jab. He boxed very, very intelligently. And, he's looking better every time he gets into the ring.
Well, that was the Tyson Fury Dereck Chisora show. Another man who was there that night was Tommy Fury. What can you tell us? What's going on, Frank?
Well, I think, everyone's trying to make this fight happen. I mean, we had it happen. We had it. It was made. It was a few months ago, but he wasn't allowed to travel, Tommy. So we're trying to do it over here now and trying to get it on. We're working hard to see if we can get it done.
So this is obviously the fight with Jake Paul. So you guys are in talks about that, and are these promising talks?
Yeah. Well, if you're talking, it's promising. Hopefully we can get it over the line.
Fingers crossed. The next Queensberry show It's a big one, January 28th. Anthony Yarde.
Good show.
Yeah, just look, you weren't there at the press conference. Here's your chance. Yarde Beterbiev's happening. Talk to me.
It's a great fight. It's a great fight. I mean, styles, the old adage, styles make fights. And the styles will really complement each other. And I think it'd be a tough fight. I think it'd be a great fight. You know, he's not a Joe Smith, Anthony Yarde. He will have his hands full. But Beterbiev. Now, he's a good fighter. Don't get me wrong, a very, very good fighter. But he will be hands full against a boxer who's been gaining experience. Lots of experience, having only had, 11 or 12 amateur fights. Went to Russia, fought Kovalev over there. You know, he's looking better and better, and he's getting stronger. And I just feel that he can do it. And we've done all we can to get the fight in the UK, so it's up to him now. But it'd be a cracker of a fight. I'm really looking forward to it.
So how much chance do you give him then? Obviously, you know, the bookies don't have him as the favourite. Beterbiev a clear favourite. A lot of voices in boxing are saying Beterbiev is going to be business as usual. How much chance do you give Anthony Yarde in this fight?
Oh, listen, he's a devastating puncher and a great finisher, and he's not a bad boxer. People underestimate that. He's got a good jab. He had a tough time, not this year, the year before, a very tough year outside the ring. And lots of problems, but he came through. You know, they're all now. I hope he's got over them, and they're a thing of the past, and he's moved on. He's an extremely big puncher, as you know. He's a big puncher, and I look at what Callum Beterbiev said and put him on the floor. And I like Callum. Callum, excuse me, he's retired now, and we wish him all the best for the future. But if Anthony puts him on the floor, he'll finish it.
Do you see that as a bit of a difference to the Anthony Yarde now compared to the Anthony Yarde that boxed Kovalev, in that he had him hurt in that 8th round, and maybe if he gets Beterbiev hurt, he knows better than to just, you know, empty the tank?
Well, he had him hurt, but he also was in front on the judge's card in the other guy's backyard. And I think it was just, you know, it was experience, a bit of naivety. I think he could have won that fight. But you know what? You can't change it. It is what it is. And now he's got another chance for the title, and he thoroughly deserves it. And if anyone can pull it off, he can do it.
Tell me a little bit about Anthony Yarde's journey. You've had him since, well, you've had his whole career, and he was just, you know, he had 11, 12 amateur fights, as you said. Has he gone further than you thought? Are you not surprised by, you know, it's his 2nd world title fight, and he hasn't got much experience? Well,
Tunde, you know, who's I've known for years, Tunde mentioned to me, and I heard, you know, a few people said there's this young kid around who's everybody's fighting in the amateurs, he's knocking them over. And I was quite surprised he only had that amount of fights. And we turned him pro, and I like kids turning pro early. You know, like Ricky Hatton turned pro early, Naz turned pro early. Quite a few fighters have done that, and Amir Khan, and gone on to do some good things. And I've liked everything about him. He's a thorough professional. He's an absolutely thorough professional. He doesn't overlook anything, and you only got to look at him. But I think he's also mentally now maturing as well as physically. He's mentally maturing, and I think that'll make him a better fighter. He's more equipped this time round than he was the first time round, and he should have won it the first time round.
How key is that home advantage for Anthony Yarde? Because you've always been keen on securing home advantage for you guys challenging for big titles.
Well, look, a ring's a ring at the end of the day for any boxers, but I do like the idea of, you know, when we can do it, when we can make it happen. You can't always make it happen, but when you can make it happen, I like the idea of it, and I think the atmosphere will be great. It'll be a fantastic atmosphere. You know, he's a Londoner, and the Londoners have come out for him, and I think it's going to be a really, really good fight, and it'll be a great undercard as well. We've got some good fights on there. We'll be announcing a new signing that we've got as well, which I think everybody's going to be excited about. We'll maybe making his debut on that show as well. What
did you make of Artur Beterbiev punching the table during their face-off, or at the end of their face-off?
He wants to punch a table. He wants to punch a table, as long as he's not punching my man until the fight. And hopefully he's not punching him in the fight.
Well, I actually asked him afterwards. I was walking around with him. I said, "Well, why did you punch the table?" And he said, "Because I'm not allowed to punch Anthony Yarde yet." in quite a cold, savage way.
There you go. There you go. Good for him. Good for him.
It's not on box office. It's a BT Sport fight night as well, which some fans are surprised by. What can you tell us? Why have you made the decision to not put it on box office?
Well, you can only put so many fights on box office, and this one, as you just said, is not on box office. So, times are tough, and that was the decision that was made. And so that's great for the fans. That's great for everybody.
2023 gift for boxing fans.
Late Christmas gift.
There you go. Zach Parker. What's the update with him? Obviously, unfortunate to get injured in that John Ryder fight. What's the latest?
Well, I thought he was just in front in the fight. I mean, I weren't like he's just in front, but he badly. You've seen the X-rays. I think they've let him out. I've seen them everywhere. He badly busted up his hand. And all you can do with that is which he's doing, is he may have had the operation already. I'm not sure. Is operate on, and then it's the old adage of time healing, and that's what happened. And he's got to get himself then back into the game and try and get himself back up to the top table. We'll make the fights. We'll give him the fights, and he's obviously got to go and do the business. Really a shame when you look back. Especially the first fight that we won the first bids for that fight with Andrade, and Andrade was going to take the fight. I think we sold about 30,000 tickets up there, and that'd have been great. That would have. It's just a shame it didn't happen for him, but that's life, as they say. Things happen, and you've got to look for the. Hopefully, out of bad comes good.
Well, on that night, the Zach Parker John Ryder show. Dennis McCann looked pretty good. What did you think? He's
maturing as well. He turned pro at a very young age. He's maturing. He's stronger. You can see he looks much stronger. I think he was boxing to orders for a few of the rounds. I think Alan was, keeping him focused on his boxing. But as soon as he let him off the leash, he did what he had to do. I mean, I love him. I think I like watching him, and I think he can fight, and I think he's. I generally think he's got the capability of going all the way.
And he's got that Commonwealth title now as well. And there's been a lot of talk because just a week earlier, Liam Davies became the European champion. You've got two unbeaten super bantamweights who both want to fight each other, or at least they're saying they want to fight each other. Are we going to see?
Well, it's a big fight. That's a big fight to make next year. And it's a big fight to make. Get them a couple of more wins each, and that'll be a mega fight.
Yeah, and I can't see either of them backing away from it. That's the thing. So it's going to be.
No, they won't. I mean, they're two extremely good young fighters. Liam boxed well. Mm-hmm. He boxed well anyway. So both of them, they're classy fighters.
And also on that night at the O2, we had Hamzah Sheeraz, who stopped River Wilson Benn. Seemed to hurt him and bust him up quite early.
He did again. I love fighters who can jab, and he can jab. He's got a great jab. He's got a great boxing brain. He really does remind me of a young Tommy Hearns, that tall, rangy, that rangy look about him. And he's an exciting fighter. There's no doubt about that. And he's a good quality fighter. And again, I think he's going to have a big year next year.
Well, this is another one of those where people are linking his name to another fighter in the Queensberry stable. Denzel Bentley, of course, had an excellent performance against Janibek. Didn't get the job done, but surprised a lot of people in that. Just a word on Denzel's performance.
Well, no one gave him an earthly, hardly anybody. I fancy he had a good chance. I really did fancy he'd have a good chance against him. But he just let those first four rounds. He let them slide by. And he'd make these, I don't know if he was figuring him out or what he was doing, but, he let those rounds go. So then you're playing catch up. But a great performance, fabulous performance. And he showed that, he's a world-class fighter, because everybody was saying this guy's going to be the next big thing.
So what happens next then with Denzel, and what happens with Hamzah? Is that a fight you're looking to make anytime soon, or is that something for the future?
Yeah, I mean, these are big fights to make next year. There's a load of in-house fights that we can make that are real quality fights that are appeal to the boxing fans. Some great fights we made, and as I always say, it's not the end of the world for the loser. It's not like we haven't done it before.
Yeah, there is precedent for this. Sam Noakes as well, 10-0 with 10 knockouts. So
you know what? I like Sam. I think he's all action. He's exciting. He's a lovely fella. And he seems, I don't mean he's being disrespectful, it seems like he slips a bit under the radar sometimes. But that was a great performance. He boxed really well. And he just seems to get better and better with every fight. And I was extremely, extremely pleased with his performance. I like him. And I think next year he's going to be involved in some big fights. And he's very capable of winning big fights.
Well, he's got that Commonwealth title now as well.
Well, perfect record, isn't it? It's a perfect record. And no one's done him any favours. He's gone and done it all himself. No one's done him. He's gone out there and made a name for himself. He's got a great trainer in Alan. They're a good team, and my son France is there looking after him. I think they really, really have done well between them all.
Yeah, they're looking very good, and also out of that gym, the iBox gym, Pierce O'Leary as well. He just keeps on winning, keeps looking good.
He boxed well, but I think he could have. But I bet when I haven't spoke to him since, but I think if he looks back on that, and he'll probably think, why didn't I use the jab more? There was times in him he's looking at the land because he's a big puncher. He's a phenomenal puncher. He was looking to land that big shot. You could see that. He was winding himself up. And if he'd just relaxed a little bit more, he probably would have stopped him much earlier on. But having said that, it was a great performance. He's got those rounds in the bank, and yet they're the fights that you learn from. Tough opponent, by the way. He was a tough opponent, the guy. Come to fight.
Yeah, he did. It was strange because it looked like his legs sort of went in the second round, and then he was just still there at the end. It was.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Yeah.
Made of stern stuff. Frank, what can you tell me about the Zolani Tete situation?
I read one. I can't remember what the site is. It BN or where it's called WBN. They made some sort of references. I've kept quiet about it and all this stuff. After I was very vociferous about Conor Benn, I wasn't quiet at all. As soon as we found out about it, and we found out about it through the newspapers, UCAD didn't inform us. They didn't inform the Border Control. We found out through the newspapers, through a South African newspaper. And as soon as we did that, I'd done an interview, I think it was with Boxing Scene, with Rick Reno on Boxing Scene. And I said, if he's guilty, call the hearing quickly. If he's guilty, then he'll pay the price. If he's not guilty, then he won't. Get it sorted out ASAP. And more importantly, put the B sample in. It's the only way you find out. So that is what we said. That's because that's all the knowledge we had of it.
So do we know the latest on that B sample? Has it been tested or anything?
I'm not sure what's happening at the moment. I've been out of action a bit, as you know. It's more, so I don't know. I don't know. But it'll take its course, and it'll be dealt with as fast as possible. We won't be sitting around in months' time waiting to find out what's happening. That's for sure.
But there was no prior knowledge because fans are saying, "Oh, Frank was, very vocal about the Conor Benn situation." But why is this?
I just started the interview by saying that, and I also started the interview by saying because we never knew about it. We only, as soon as I heard about it, I did an interview which went out on Boxing Scene, and it seems a lot of these geniuses in boxing who are quick to criticise obviously didn't listen to or see the interview. So that's that's what it is. I didn't have to go and do 50 interviews about it. As soon as, and I know that was sprung on me as well by Boxing Scene because I was unaware of it until they rang me. David
Avanesyan. I assume you've seen the fight over the weekend against Terence Crawford.
Yeah.
Tell us your thoughts.
Yeah. But he'd done the best he could do. Crawford's an exceptional fighter. He was catching him. He gave in a real brave performance against a high quality fighter in the other guy's backyard. But at the end, he got caught with a tremendous shot, tremendous stoppage. But he can come again.
There's Echo Esserman in the stable as well. Do you feel like maybe that fight becomes a bit closer now that we could maybe look at
again? That? As there are some good fights there to be made. I mean, there are some really good fights to be made there, and who knows? Maybe they might fancy Conor Benn there. Who knows?
Maybe
you can't fight Conor Benn when he gets his license back.
Could be one for next year. Final one, Frank. How do we reflect on 2022 for Queensberry?
I think we had a very good year. We had we put on, I think, the biggest show to take place in the UK at Wembley. sold 60,000 tickets at Spurs. Most of our fighters, and you get wins and losses, but most of our fighters come through. Our youngsters have done extremely well, and are putting ourselves in great position for fights for next year. And we've got, and our other two heavyweights at championship level have both got themselves into good spots, where one's the interim champion and the other one's the WBA regular heavyweight champion. David Adelaya, he's had a good year. A lot of them have really come through and stepped up to the plate. I think we're blessed with some really good young fighters, some extremely young fighters. I'm going to go through all of them, so please, guys, don't think I'm forgetting you, because I'm not. But some really good youngsters there, and I think next year we're going to have an even better year.
What's been the highlight of the year? What's been the best moment for you?
The highlight for me of the year probably was Tyson at Wembley, because our PR man, Mr. Hearn, said it won't sell, it's not going to do any business, and the usual stuff. And everybody, and a lot of people didn't think it was going to do any business. And we bid huge money for that, $42 million for the fight. And it did do business, and it done business with one fighter showing up at the press conference. So that is a highlight for me, and it's a highlight for me as much is because where Tyson's come from, what's happened with him over the years, and the crap he went through. Some self-inflicted, some not, but how he dealt with it, and how he's stepped up as a man and been an inspiration, as I said earlier, to some people. I'm delighted for him. So he's done extremely well, and some of our other fighters have put in some fabulous performances. We got a really good roster of fighters and champions.
And I guess the low light, if there is such a word, is your back. We need your back sorted. We need you back to your best.
Yeah, I need that sorted. But no, I think the low light is is Zach, is David Avanesyan, a few of the couple other guys who got beat. No one likes to see our fighters get beat. That was a bit of a bummer. But they've all done well, and hopefully I'll sort my back out.
Hopefully. Look, Frank, for anyone that hasn't bought tickets for the first show of 2023, Yarde Beterbiev, tell them why they need to be there.
Buy them. I'm telling yourself, buy yourself a Christmas present and go and see it, because I'm telling you, it's going to be a great fight. I promise you, it's going to be a great fight.
Frank Warren, thank you very much.
Cheers, Dave.
Anthony Yarde puts him down with a chopping right hand. Beterbiev.
When I beat someone like Beterbiev, it just feels better.
The beast from the east, Yarde.
Artur Beterbiev, the 3-belt world champion at light heavyweight.
The only world champion in boxing with a 100% knockout ratio.
He was offered $1 million to step aside and he refused to take it.
It's this guy got no fear in his body. I actually haven't, because I don't care what no one thinks.